everybody. Welcome back to Getting Ahead of Ourselves.
Hello.
That's Kyle.
I'm Kyle.
Yeah, and I'm Allison, and it's been a little while.
I have to try to think of a different way to say it every time, but there's only so many ways I can say I'm Kyle.
Did you say you were Kyle?
Yeah.
I thought you just said hello.
No, I just said I'm Kyle, like in a weird voice.
You did say you were
literally
Kyle.
Like 3 seconds ago.
Well, it was hard because I remember me saying that you were Kyle. So I only have one memory.
You gotta make eye contact?
Yeah.
You gotta listen. That's what it's about. It's a listening exercise. You gotta pay attention to the other person and the things that they're saying.
The eye contact is very strong here, but I'm taking away very little that you're saying.
I might be talking about improv here and not podcasts, I'm not sure.
That's okay. So at this point, we've gone through a good number of topics on the list, but I do still have some on the list. So I feel like at this point, we've done enough of them that it's easier for you to just pick, and I'm going to say if we've done it or not.
Okay.
And I'll even tell you the topic that it was.
I'll just shout out a number and you'll just say
Yeah,
no.
so we
if I
have-
already got it.
We have, you feeling extra smart today? Feeling extra thinky?
Never.
Wow, thinky.
Thinky.
I don't think I like that one. I think it's the first time I've ever heard it or said it, and I don't think it's gonna move forward.
I think that's probably for the best. I'm gonna try and adjust my microphone. It might make a horrible noise. That was just me.
You made a worse noise than the microphone did. Okay. All right, so we've got 1 through 20. What number feels the most right?
4.
We have done that one. That was
Damn
what
it.
if we got rid of the prison system?
Okay, that's one of my favorite episodes.
Really?
Probably always will be.
Aw. I don't remember anything about it.
That was the Santa Claus episode, right?
Oh, yeah, I think it was.
Let's do 13, the spooky number.
13, he says.
Watch me just repick all the same ones because I have a one-track mind and can only think of the same numbers.
13 was what if you could kill anybody, but you took over their responsibilities?
Oh, no, that was the Santa Claus one. What was the prison one then? Did we actually do that?
I think they were combination.
Okay.
I think they ended up being combination.
Okay, so I accidentally picked the same thing twice. So
Yeah.
good on me.
I can tell that you're really feeling this vibe,
Let's
You're
do-
manifesting this.
Let's do 5.
5.
I don't usually pick 5, so I probably
Never
didn't pick 5.
Uh-oh.
Did I already pick 5?
No.
Okay.
So 5 is the one that we've all been sort of like dancing around, dreading the idea.
No. Are we finally here?
We're finally here. So the prompt today is, what if you could just eat anybody? Like a sandwich.
The often teased conversation prompt on this show.
Right. Well, today is the day. Today, I hope you're ready. So I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this, because I've always made the excuse that, like, when I sat down to write this, I was doing okay. And then by, like, hour 2, as my brain melted, it got weirder and weirder. But I will say,
But that's
on
pretty
the
early.
list... Yeah, it is. It's 5. I will say on the list, it was clearly like I forgot 5 and then like snuck it in there in like a little thing. So who knows?
All right, well,
why.
I'm just going to go ahead and start with the story that always comes to mind every single time that you say this.
Yeah, of
that I've
course.
definitely told on like a community comments or something before, but I don't think I've actually brought up on the podcast because we've never.
I think you have brought it
actually
up on the
talked about
podcast.
this. Well, I may have also alluded to it. I'm not sure if I've ever gone into detail because we haven't actually done it.
Yeah, of course.
But my very early experience with this topic is that I used to ask a similar question as just sort of a fun conversation starter and also a fun psychological test on all of my friends to see how they would answer.
This is Kyle's go-to dating question.
If I dated, that might have been the case, but instead I just did it on all my weird nerd friends. But my version of the question was basically it was the idea of like lab meat is becoming a thing. You can make meat theoretically off of growing. You can grow meat from like harvesting DNA or existing cells from like organic matter.
Right.
That means that in theory you could make a burger of anything.
Yeah.
So my question was, if you had this ability, what animal would you want to try a burger of first?
Right.
The test part of this was to see how fast each person went to human.
I think this is a better test than Myers-Briggs. I think this is
I feel like it's a different test than
I think it's a
Myers-Briggs.
better personality assessment of a person than any personality quiz that
I
currently
bet
exists.
at least half of our fans go to human first.
I bet you're
Like a wild
pretty right about that.
The story is that I tried this out on John at one point, and John went so far past that
Right.
mark so immediately.
Right.
because he did not only jump to human, but he theorized a restaurant in which two people, friends, dates, relatives, I suppose, could go sit down, supply DNA samples to the waiter, and then order and consume burgers of each other. For some reason, I kept being friends with John after that.
That's too much. I don't like... He added a whole nother level of horror that actually, I guess we're going to talk about today. Because the prompt is, what if we could just eat each other? Like as if people were donuts or sandwiches.
When you ask that, are you talking about lab meat, clone meat like I'm talking about? Or are you just talking about straight up cannibalizing each other?
Well, I'm talking about all of it. Like, it could range from, like, cartoon version, I could just take a chunk out of your arm. Or it could range from, like, lab meat, or it could range
Cloudy
from,
with a Chance of Meatballs style, like, just things around you are edible kind of situation.
I think we can talk about the spectrum, honestly.
Well, where's the science?
What do you mean?
Let me open up with that question.
It's a social science.
Which part of this? What is the? What would you like to learn from this conversation?
It's a social science. It's about the social elements and consequences of the reality of this. We could talk about lab meat or whatever.
I feel like we should define some. We should start. We need to start somewhere concrete.
Okay. Do you want to start with lab meat?
I guess so. I mean, that seems like the most realistic version of any version of this that we could possibly be talking about.
That sounds fine.
I haven't actually looked into lab meat in a while. Lab meat was being brought up back in like the mid 2000s. I remember Colbert doing a story about it in his show, and I'm still not able to go buy it at HEB. So I don't know, like, what's the holdup with lab meat right now?
Who knows?
Is it the science? Is it it can't just be the ethics of it. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised at all to learn that it's completely feasible, but 100% the meat industry is keeping it from turning into anything.
I was literally about to say that. The meat and dairy industry are absolutely not going to just let that slide by.
Because they're multi-billion, trillion-dollar industries that control all food within the civilized, developed world.
It's 100% it.
So yeah, they probably wouldn't be too fond of that the same way that like gas companies are not really helpful.
Yeah, that
when
actually,
it comes to introducing green energy alternatives.
That reminded me of a quote today that I have like mixed feelings on, because it's definitely one of those, if you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best kind of things, where like the wrong people could really take this and run with it. But the quote was, if your voice meant nothing, people wouldn't be trying to stop you from saying it. Or if your words meant nothing, people wouldn't try to stop you from talking, or something like that. And I kind of liked it until I realized
my brain does immediately go to first thing is like, that's kind of nice. Immediate second thought is like all the horrible internet influencers that would definitely just spout that like crazy anytime they did something awful.
See, I did the opposite, which is like, I was like, oh man, no one's trying to stop me from talking. I must just have nothing important to say. Not a single person is attempting to stifle my ability to speak out on things. No one.
I mean, yeah, no one's stopping me from talking.
No one's like reporting me on Instagram. No one's like trying to block me on Facebook.
I'm not sure that it's as simple as if you're not saying anything useful if you're not hitting active opposition. I'm not sure. I think it's probably more nuanced than that in reality.
You know, I just realized I have a problem with your science take on this, because the podcast isn't a science podcast. It's a future podcast. Right. It is a what if society functioned as blank. What are the consequences of that reality?
But future isn't fantasy world. So, like, are people made of donuts is a little bit different than what about a future in which we can make meat instantaneously.
Well, it's just an alternate reality where that element of humanity exists and how it would look.
So what about, I'm trying to think of another.
We can technically already eat each other. It's just about, it's about the variety, the scale of which that could exist on.
Elaborate on what you just said.
People can eat other people, and cannibals. I don't know what.
You mean they just do, like in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. I thought the way you said it made it sound like you were saying like we are legally able and to do this.
No, I meant physically able. We currently can.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Organic matter is consumable.
So now we're just adding a little bit of magic and unrealism to the situation that could potentially exist. It's totally normal. We do this stuff all the time.
What would happen to make that reality? Are we talking about like I'm just trying to figure out where you want to go with this. Like, are we talking about like...
You keep doing that. Every time we start one of these, you're like, where do you want to go? And I'm like, there is no where do I want to go. Only where will we end up at the end?
Okay, well then you start.
Okay, so let's start with the premise that you could just eat somebody like a donut, right? Because this is a thought experiment. Okay. That's what it is. This podcast is a thought experiment.
I agree.
Okay, so let's say that the possibility could exist that you could just consume another living human being, right?
Like as you just pointed out, you can. The possibility does exist. We live in this world now.
Right, but I'm saying without the complications of like murder, technically.
Okay, so you're stipulating a world in which cannibalism is completely legal.
No, like no. I'm talking like fantasy world where people taste like donuts. You could just like take a chunk out of someone's arm.
Well, that wouldn't... If somebody tasting like donuts wouldn't change the ramifications of taking a bite out of someone. Like, that would still be frowned upon, probably, if the flavor of human was different.
That's a really good point, though.
Like, that's not going to make it okay.
What if we found out, like, so what if we found out that humans actually tasted amazing?
Are you... I still don't think we'd be able to eat each other. I don't think that would be enough.
What do you mean?
I don't think the realization that human flesh was the most delicious thing in the world would change anything about whether or not it was okay to consume each other.
I didn't say it was okay. I said what changes about society when we find out that people taste amazing?
I think probably very little.
You think so?
I mean, yeah, like chicken tastes amazing and I have issue doing that.
That's a very good point, actually.
So, like, I'm not sure it would be that much different about... Plus, what is a human going to taste like that is better than, like an actual donut, right? Like, I can also go eat a donut and then I'm not eating a person.
Okay, but what if you could take a bite out of someone like they were a sandwich?
Well, okay, so what if instead you could... Let's say we have human beings are delicious and you can eat human meat without consequence because of something like lab meat.
Okay.
Right? Like, what if we're talking about a world where you can just custom order anything you want? And we've already acknowledged that certain people immediately go to what would it be like to eat a person? How popular do you think that would be to do? Like, if you could actually do it? Do you think that would be a real thing? Do you think that would turn into an industry by itself of, like, human meat or whatever?
It's really hard because it sounds so, like, 4chan-y. Like if people were like, hey, you can ethically consume human meat. I definitely know people would try it. I actually think John would try it.
I know people who would certainly try it. I just wonder if you'd end up with weird, like, connoisseurs of, like...
Well, here's the thing. Can you, do you own that meat? Like, do you have do you have legal rights to the meat that is your body structure? If someone takes your cells and creates anything out of them, are you allowed to claim that that's yours and you deserve the profits from said thing?
I think this weirdly crosses into a podcast that we've done before, which was like the weird like identity of like the ownership of genes. We talked about that in our Designer Baby episode way back when.
We definitely did, but we're talking about patty versions of people,
right.
So I feel
Which
like...
presumably all taste the same, right? Like, no person really is going to taste different than a different person.
See, I think that's the question. Are you willing to find that out?
I actually want to go past, are you willing to find that out? We've already found that out. We know we don't know the answer right now, but in this theoretical world, we know the answer to that question. The question is, if we remove... Like, okay, your version of, like, what if you could just consume people, I don't think would ever work because you're hurting another person to do it. No one's going to do that. Or it's never going to become socially popular to harm someone in exchange for food. Otherwise, we would still do that now. We would kill each other and take each other's food. But we don't have to do that, right? We're past that as a society.
Right.
So, in a world where you can just generate human meat, what is the weird subculture of people that decide to partake in that? I want to add one thing
to your point, which is that, yes, I think you're right about everything that you just said. I do think it is a little bit of a game changer. Not a huge one, but I do think there's another extra psychological element if we found out people tasted amazing. Because a lot of obviously most of the pushback should always be, of course, that it's harming someone else and so that you shouldn't do it. But everyone sort of just agrees people would taste disgusting. It would be gross.
I don't think people actually think about it in that. I mean, no one would know. No one's tried. everybody thinks that because the idea of eating another person is repulsive, no matter what you think it would taste like. So obviously your brain and like.
I mean, we've
translate
definitely
that
like
into
from a
the,
science
they also probably are
perspective.
gross.
From a science perspective, we've definitely thought about how a person tastes because things eat us. Not us
yeah.
necessarily, but things eat us. Like there's definitely everyone has at least thought once about what a human would taste like.
I'm sure a human would taste probably fine. I mean, meat is meat when it comes down to it. It just doesn't have enough like there's nothing about human meat that would inherently be like more like a worse flavor.
You say that, but lamb and steak don't taste the same.
No, but neither of them taste bad. Why would human taste bad?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
Not like on average.
I mean, okay, I see what you're saying.
Like people who like meat, and there's not really a whole lot of like. It's not like somebody who really likes chicken is gonna take a bite of a burger patty and like throw up. Like,
well, okay,
like human.
I see what you're saying.
There isn't going to be like an animal that's going to be just absolutely disgusting to eat. There's like gaminess, which is like kind of like a texture thing on like. That's why we don't eat predators for the most part.
You don't
right?
watch enough Good Mythical Morning. I will tell you that most animals that are meat definitely taste different from each other.
Are you talking about them eating meat or eating organs? Because those are also different things.
Definitely meat. That like they talk all the time about how like the diets of the animals that they consume drastically changes the taste of which the animal is.
Okay, so there might be a difference between eating, say, like Africans and Americans or something.
That might be very true.
Because of the food that they consume.
So in your theory then, is there a demand for certain ethical, like not ethical, ethnic burgers? And if that's true, what are the implications that would have on society? Do we have a whole new element of racism just within the food industry?
I'm becoming afraid of this podcast.
You're afraid of every podcast.
Yes.
You get so worried. What scares you?
I was thinking like I bet a really like easy
These are the questions
for
people
sure
want to know the
industry that
answers
would pop
to.
up around this would be like celebrity meats though. Like if it was like
You're right.
if you were like cloning. So this is why I wanted to skip past the like literally consuming a living person, because I feel like that just turns into an ethics conversation and that's boring. I think it's more interesting if you can just have the thing and then talk about that and the consequences of that.
Okay, well then just go for it. Quit asking me what you want to talk about. Just say it.
I want to talk about consuming a burger that tastes like Tom Cruise, I guess. Like would that sell? What would sell more?
I would eat a Tom Cruise burger.
Would you prefer a Tom Cruise burger or a Will Smith burger? And would they taste different?
See,
and
but
would it matter?
Here's the biggest so I don't know. I mean, like, I assume vegans and non-vegans are going to taste differently, but I think we can even move further past that. We can take our time getting here if we want to, but the reality is, once we know people taste good and have consumed burgers of which, I mean, we say burgers, it could be steak, it could be chicken nuggets, I don't care. But, like, once we know, like, oh, Tom Cruise tastes like meat, like, once we normalize the eating of other people, I just think it gets a lot more slippery to do like the don't harm anybody. It's like, I already ate Tom Cruise. I already ate a Tom Cruise burger. He tasted amazing.
Yeah, right. But in that version, you're not literally eating Tom Cruise. You're eating a meat culture that was grown from his cells. So
I mean, yeah, but
it's more like selling bathwater. I feel like it's like more in that region of commerce, like where it's this weirdly highly specialized product that's like. You know what? I bet some information can be gleaned from this by knowing actual statistics on like how many people like buy used socks. Things like
so
that.
many people buy used socks.
Because no one like there's
Wait a
no
minute.
way to get analytics on this.
My God, you're absolutely right. This absolutely changes like the simp industry. It completely does, though. Think about the sheer money someone could make by selling literally their own cells for meat that someone could consume. Okay, so here's what we do, though. At this point, like stick with me here. This is how society functions now. We can make meat versions of each other or whatever. Are we doomed? Is society over at that point? Like, is it even... Can we come back from that, or is it just over? Do we just call it quits, wipe us out?
I do think if this was possible, it would happen. 100%.
Really?
Yeah, to actually theorize and not just ask questions. That
You
I'm
really
not
think it
providing
would
answers to.
happen?
I think if this technology existed, it would happen. I think one person would do it. I think it would be like some horrible, like horrific media story that would blow up, and like people would be like, "Oh, that's gross," and then another person would do it.
This feels a little
and then it
too.
would build up, and then it would be a thing you could do because people would be like, "It's not hurting anyone," and then
This feels a little too soon, like right off the Army Hammer controversy. But I swear to God, I thought of this way before I knew he was probably a cannibal. And I don't care. I don't care if he is or isn't. I've never cared about any celebrity that much.
Now I don't think Tom Cruise would do it. I think that like that's kind of the big thing.
I don't know. I think Tom Cruise
like,
might do
this
it.
definitely would be seen as deviant behavior at first. I don't know how long it would take to become like a mainstream thing.
Well,
where,
what
like,
kind of deviant
Oprah
behavior?
just had her own brand of Oprah burgers made of Oprah. Like I don't know if that would be. Like, I don't know how long it would take for that to happen. Also, when was the last time Oprah was a relevant pop culture reference?
She's not. Drake and Josh. Pretty sure. Pretty sure it ended when that show ended.
I'm almost 30.
I think Oprah kind of died because she has like shady friends in the industry. Everyone
She
was
just
like,
left. I don't think she had her show and then she stopped
Oprah's
doing her
like
show.
BFFs with Dr. Phil.
No, I know. She just became a rich producer behind the scenes kind of person, pretty much. She just stopped
Probably-
being like a face front personality.
Probably good for her.
Probably. I'm sure she's done awful things.
Yeah, no doubt. no
she
doubt.
hasn't.
Okay, all right. So if this was a thing, do you think it would only be a thing for the scandalous elite?
No, I actually could see it becoming more of a. What do you mean, like the elite people selling it or just
Making it
consuming
either way.
it?
Like, would poor people ever be able to consume the rich people, or how would that
Literally
work?
eat the rich.
I mean,
this
literally.
is our advertising campaign.
We just needed 7 podcasts and that one question to get here.
The idea of the actual in current reality, the hope for the lab meat is that it becomes a cheaper, easier to produce alternative for meat. And I assume like in real life, I assume what will happen is lab meat will become a thing and it will be seen as poor person food because it isn't the real meat. The rich people will want to eat the actual cows because it's pure and real or whatever. But realistically, if we do it right, it'll be like diamonds versus fake diamonds.
Right.
It's the same thing. And
Right.
also, if you go pay for the expensive version, you're dumb and contributing to probably something that's destroying the world. And
That's the expensive
populations
fun
of-
part of it.
Right, exactly.
My diamond, like 7 people died in slavery
if
to
human
get it
death
for me.
was not involved in you obtaining it, is it even worth it at that point?
Yeah, literally, like children died getting my diamond. So
But it's kind of like,
Take that.
I mean, people go hunt now too because that's like more of a separation. Like there will still be people who want to eat the actual animal. And I
Right.
think it will be more commonplace to 3D print yourself some food, which I will be all about personally.
that was a different one. 3D printers and their future.
Yeah, I assume it'll kind of cross over though at some point. Like it feels like a
Sure.
similar kind of situation.
Yeah.
Now whether or not where the meat culture comes from, I don't know. I feel like that's probably something people will artificially inflate. Because realistically, if you make it once,
Oh, I'm not timing this episode.
our Zoom times them. I think we're at like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Let me actually double check because it's red and I can't see it from a distance. Yeah, okay, we have like 5-10 minutes ish left.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Wait, I thought you just said it's only been 20 minutes.
25 is what it says. But we also restarted at the beginning of the.
Aren't
of this
these
one, so-
hour-longs?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's
No, these are half an hour.
been a long time. Okay, anyway.
What was I saying?
I don't know. Sorry.
Bye, everybody. That's the end of the episode. I was going to say that the origin of the meat theoretically shouldn't increase the price because once you have the DNA or whatever, you should
Right.
be able to just like infinitely print that with whatever meat substance it is.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't matter where it originates. I bet it would still be like, but it would still be something where you can do like. If anything is custom, it's more expensive.
Right.
So I see it as something that's easy to produce, easy to customize, and easy to mark up. So I actually don't think it will be like a only rich exclusive thing. I think
Okay.
it'll be like weird internet personalities. And like it'll be a weird like OnlyFans add-on where it can literally be like buy my body, consume it.
What if okay, but
I'm
what
so sorry for this episode.
okay, but what kind of regulations can you believe we were gone for like 3 weeks? We come back with like, let's consume everybody.
This is the first one that's gonna come out.
I'm so
This is going
sorry.
up first.
I think if this was someone's first podcast, they wouldn't watch anymore. Like this is the Black Mirror
This is that
episode
episode.
1 of this series.
This is that episode of the series where you go, watch the whole thing except this one. Skip that one, it's fine. It's not relevant to the rest of the story.
This actually sounds like a Black Mirror thing, though. Like, people can
does.
just casually... See, that's what the podcast is. It's like Black Mirror, but you and I talk about the consequences instead of a bunch of writing people who are being all serious and shit.
Right. You and me instead of film students, basically. Our entire career description.
Right. Okay, so now that we've discussed this to a more realistic state, how likely is John's scenario, and how willing are you to try it?
I am deeply disturbed by every implication of this entire concept and would never do this for any reason. It's really weird because I legitimately, and I think this is why it would work, there is no moral issue with doing this. Realistically, there's
no,
not.
I guess.
You're not hurting anybody.
No.
If you want to do that,
The only
You can do
argument that could be made that is often made for a bunch of things is the gateway potential. That's it.
right, but like
You develop a sense for human flesh
but
after
we shun
consuming
that-
a burger.
that whole thing on every other
We try.
on every other argument pretty much.
We try.
I mean, you and I do generally.
Oh yeah, yes we do.
But no, because it definitely is like, I mean, it's a huge like taboo thing.
Just like a bite though.
but-
Would you try a bite of a burger that was made of someone
But
else?
well, that's just it. Like I have no reason to say no, but no.
Well, it's kind of like the, I mean,
No.
not to be completely crass, but it's kind of like the why wouldn't you have sex with your sibling question, which is like, is it morally, technically allowed? I fucking guess, but I'm not going to do it. You know? Like,
Yeah,
you never took a philosophy class, did you?
Not a good one. I may have taken one at the Art Institute, but that doesn't count for anything.
It's fine. One of my first philosophy classes at that point came up, which was just to beg the question of, like, you know, morality, right?
Yeah. I was just going to say what I wouldn't give at this point in my life to sit in on an Art Institute philosophy course.
Right? So
I definitely didn't pay attention while I was there, but I would love to watch that.
after
now.
this podcast, I truly believe that I have the potential to be a philosophy teacher.
Anyone does, so yeah, you're right.
Wow, that's really rude. I was giving myself a compliment, and you decided to ruin that moment for myself, so I appreciate it.
You are more qualified than most actual philosophy teachers. How about that?
To be fair, now that I'm thinking back, I'm pretty sure my philosophy teacher was just some guy. He didn't teach any other topic. He just showed up for the one class in the middle of summer, taught 7 kids, and then I just think he disappeared.
Professor Professorson from Community.
He's also the most generic looking man I've ever seen. Somewhere between like mid-20s to mid-30s, a guy, glasses, hair, whatever you're thinking in your brain, that's what he looked like. So I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, so you would not partake in this whatsoever, not even like the tiniest bite.
No, I just couldn't. I don't think I could bring myself to do it. And it's weird because I would
if it was
try some
someone-
other ones. Like if it was animals, I'd be okay with it. Because my usual go-to answer for this is like a mammoth, because we have mammoths. We can extract mammoth DNA. We could theoretically make a mammoth burger. That'd be interesting to try.
Okay.
Like that for some reason. I'm already moving away from eating meat just in general.
Right.
But but it doesn't like, it's not something I don't do still. And I
Right.
don't actually have any moral issues against eating meat. Again, I have no reason to say no. I'm just not going to do it. I just don't want to do it. And I choose to not do it. And that's pretty much it.
I feel similarly. I definitely wouldn't, like, I'm not really stoked for this idea.
Right. No, nothing about this sounds pleasant, but I still think it would happen. That's the thing, because I know other people wouldn't share.
The question is, would I sell burgers of myself? And while, so realistically, no, because I've never been able to do that
But
kind
this
of
is
shit.
kind of the same thing. It's like you've acknowledged multiple times how much money you could make off of selling your own used socks or whatever.
100%.
But you're not going to do it. You've
I don't know
decided
why,
not to do
though.
it.
I don't know why.
Right. I don't know why either. I could probably make money off of OnlyFans. I'm not going to.
Why aren't we doing it?
Because I don't want to. I don't know. Like
I know
there's-
that's what's really weird is how we have this there's some kind of reservation we both have that neither of us is willing to identify with, which is that we could
Yeah.
both make a lot of money selling our underwear. We just won't do
I
it.
can't tell if I don't want to identify what it is, or if I legitimately just don't know.
I literally don't know. I don't know why. Honestly, I do not know why I don't sell my socks. Actually, to be honest, I do know why, but it's purely a work ethic kind of thing. I don't want to create, I literally just don't want to create a whole new Instagram dedicated to keeping up with like feet pictures and selling socks and like making Craigslist ads. Like it's just a job, but it's not something I'm passionate about. Like, I don't want to sweat in my socks. I know somebody who did this, and it was a whole job. He got off work, he had to go to the gym, he had to get his socks ruined, then he had to go walk around, he had to buy new socks all the time, then he had to post them on Craigslist and Facebook and all that other stuff so that people could find it, and I'm just not passionate enough about selling my dirty clothes to get them dirty in the first place.
The problem with anything
That's
easy,
my only reservation, though. I don't care what you do with it, I don't care who's selling it, I don't care
easy
what
money
happens.
doesn't exist. Everything eventually turns into a full-time job.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing, is I'm just unwilling to put in the work for that specific thing.
Right.
I think there's other things I might put
That
in
makes
work
sense.
for, but
For me, it definitely feels like a violation on myself, but I would be the only one committing it, which is the weird thing.
a violation on yourself to sell your socks?
Yeah, it feels weird to me, but it would be me doing it. Like, I wouldn't be it's not like anyone's doing anything to me. It's
Right.
me making the decision.
I don't think you're invalid for thinking that, as long as you don't hold that position over other people.
No, not at all. That's why it's weird. I don't even kind of feel that way, like, on behalf of anyone else.
Right.
It's only for me personally.
Well,
And I think the actual thing is, I don't know whether or not I'd actually be okay with it, and I don't have the energy or interest to figure it out.
Sure.
I guess that's what it is. The actual reason is I'm fine. I just don't need to do that.
I feel like that's
I don't
really
feel like
reasonable.
I'm missing anything in my life by not doing that.
I wonder if there's a correlation between people who wouldn't sell socks and people who wouldn't eat meat, because I would like to think yes.
Who wouldn't eat human meat?
Right. Because I'd like to think yes. Like, if your line is socks, you're definitely not going to cross over 50 more lines to get to would I sell meat of myself. But then there's people like John, who I think would eat meat of someone else, but wouldn't sell his dirty socks. You know?
Yeah.
I just
no,
don't
good
think
point.
he'd want to do that. But I think he would consume his date at a restaurant if given the opportunity. And I know that John said he wouldn't do this, but John thought of it. No one else was thinking of it, except apparently me. But not even that idea. That idea is so dramatically interesting that I will admit that I didn't even
This
get
is a
that
weird
far.
way for this to have gone, because at the beginning, I had a moment where I was going to bring up the movie Soylent Green or whatever, which I've never
I don't know
actually
what that
seen,
is.
but everybody knows the reference. If you don't,
What is
it's
it?
too late. It's been decades. Soylent, I think that's the name of it, is Soylent Green is the movie.
Sounds
it's a
familiar.
dystopian future movie where it's like the world is overpopulated, and it's mostly about that, and there's like part of the movie is there's this company that like comes out with a new like edible food paste thing to help feed everybody.
Yeah.
And the big twist is it's people. It's like they're using up, other people. They're reducing the
assume
population
it's-
and feeding the existing population at the same time.
Assume
But
it's
like,
unconsensual, though.
but like, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's not even kind of the same thing we're talking about, because because the issue there is like all the mass murder.
See, here was my trick for this podcast, which is you were having a hard time finding your footing in which thing you wanted to talk about. So as long as I generally tend to go as absurdist as possible, you will usually find your happy medium to have the discussion in. So I'm like, what if you could bite people like a literal sandwich? We're all just fluffy donut made of, little sprinkles and frosting and everything, and you could just like chomp down on your boyfriend while he's sitting next to you. And you were like, okay, hold up. Let's actually go somewhere with this. So this is my technique for getting
I feel like I
you to
answered that
find
question too, also, which is that if that were possible, we still wouldn't do it. I think that's my answer to that
I
question.
don't even know if that's true.
I think it is.
I don't know.
I think there is a natural. I
guess if you couldn't
there's a natural
regenerate.
instinctive like repulsion to consuming another person. I think there has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same thing about consuming a kitten. I just wouldn't do it.
Right. I think there's just something built into your brain that stops you from doing that. Not all animals have that, clearly, looking at you hamsters, but
Oh my god.
human beings definitely do, because we have a really strong
In this
sense
podcast-
of community.
We hate hamsters. We are having none of that. This is a hamster-free zone. I just like how much you just bashed hamsters. Like, we're just chilling and you're like, fuck you, hamsters.
No hamsters allowed anywhere near this podcast. If you like hamsters, stop listening.
Okay, so then would you eat a hamster?
That just doesn't sound like it would be all
I've
that
heard
great.
I've heard that people have done it and it doesn't taste good.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be able to get a lot. That's kind of the interesting thing too. Is I don't like you can't get a lot of meat off of an actual hamster, but if you just generate hamster meat, you can make as much as you want. And you can make a full burger. So then maybe it would taste good. I don't know.
I know it wouldn't, because it's all about the reason things taste good or don't taste good is because of their diet.
Right.
That's why meats
That's a
have
good
different
point.
flavors. That's why chickens have
But,
different flavors,
but
eggs.
diet is like, if you're generating the meat in a lab, that's like an adjustable value probably,
Well,
right?
you
Like
don't
can-
generate the cells out of nowhere, right? So you have to take them from some kind of living thing.
Is the
Actually,
cell what has
wait,
the flavor?
wait.
That doesn't seem right.
What if it's not, though? So why would meat taste like anything, even lab-grown meat, if it's just the cells and not the actual diet of the animal?
I really don't know, because I don't know the physics or the biology of like how the diet actually affects like the muscle.
I haven't said this before, but I really would like this podcast to end. Is it close to ending?
Let's just stop. Let's just stop it now. It doesn't have to keep going. We don't
How
have to
long?
reach a
How much
logical
more time do we
conclusion.
have?
It's close enough. It's about 30 minutes.
I just feel like we've talked to this. Feel like we've talked about this thoroughly. And honestly, anyone who
agree.
could sit through the entirety of this podcast is a bigger hero than I am. Because while I'm willing to discuss it, I'm unwilling to ever listen to this one again.
I can say that eating meat, like eating like lab grown meat, really, like when it comes down to it, it doesn't technically harm anything
Yeah.
at all. Which means weirdly, it completely fits within the tenets of Buddhism. It's just it does no harm whatsoever. That's right.
my
I read about
God.
Buddhism since last time.
Oh my
I know
God.
more things now.
I forgot you did that. Was your underlying motivation this podcast?
No.
I think what it goes to show is that just because something is consensual doesn't mean it's not icky. Okay,
Bye,
bye
buddy.
everybody.